From Sacred Heart University in Fairfield, Connecticut, this is The Pulse.
Hello and welcome to The Pulse. I'm Claire Sechrist.
And I'm Kristen Burnell. We have a packed show for you today. First, we'll take a look into how one organization is helping to feed Connecticut families in the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic. And then how farmers markets are coming back into full swing, including a deeper look into one vendor.
And later, some Sacred Heart opportunities you'll definitely want to check out. Then, our very own Professor Al Castro will be joining us for a sit-down interview. And finally, a look into how people are no longer staying at home and finding new ways to get outside. Despite the progress in combating the pandemic, many Connecticut residents continue to feel the effects of COVID-19, with loss of jobs and inability to feed themselves or their families. Thankfully, there are organizations that have continued to help. I checked in on one organization that has not stopped since the pandemic began. The coronavirus pandemic left many without the means to provide essentials for their families, whether it was food, money for rent, or even clothing. And many still struggle, but one organization was there to help.
We have been open since day one. We never closed.
This is Nancy Coughlin, the CEO of Person to Person, a nonprofit organization that has continued to work throughout the pandemic.
Unsurprisingly, the pandemic has affected everything that we do. Most importantly, we've had a surge in demand, a surge in need. We've been doing this for 50 years, and we have never seen demand like we're seeing now.
The organization's mission is to provide individuals and families with assistance for basic needs to overcome daily challenges, and give them access to resources to improve their lives. Person to Person began by helping with food and clothing, and has now grown to provide more services. And now more than ever, people need their help.
In our food pantries, we've had a 70% spike in the amount of assistance that we're providing. And almost a quarter of the people that came to us over the past year were brand new. They'd never been to a food pantry before. They'd never been to Person before.
Person to Person operates a food pantry in Stamford, Norwalk, and Darien. Volunteers work to bag healthy groceries for Connecticut families.
We're providing healthy groceries for free at no cost to over 9,000 individuals every month. That's about 3,000 households every month, 21,000 individuals unduplicated in a year. So they'll come throughout the year to receive food multiple times. But we're by far the largest food pantry in our area.
Before COVID hit, family members could come and pick their own items, but COVID has shifted their operations.
During the pandemic, we've transitioned all of our operations to contactless. So at this location, everything's drive-through. The distribution is drive-through, the food drives are drive-through, so donors can just come up, drive up to the tent, pop their trunk, we'll take the groceries out, and on they go. And if they're here to receive food assistance, same thing, they drive up to the tent, they pop their trunk, we put the groceries in, and then they go.
The food pantry and food drives would not be possible without the numerous donations and over 4,000 volunteers. One of them is Susie, who says she is grateful for all her time spent at Person to Person.
I feel a lot more rewarded, and I feel that what I do and the people I help brings a lot more than working in my previous jobs.
The help Person to Person provides is shown in their victories over the past year. They are providing financial assistance to just over 1,100 families, and over 1 million meals while giving out 12,000 pieces of free clothing to those in need. Nancy says her work at Person to Person is all part of what she firmly believes in.
We each come into the world and we leave the world a better place than it was when we found it.
For The Pulse, Claire Sechrist, Darien.
Claire, what a great organization to highlight. As many COVID-19 restrictions have lifted, people are doing less staying at home and more getting outside. The sun is finally shining, and that means that outdoor activities are in full swing. Matt Krecky reports from Norwalk, Connecticut, with something that will be fun for the whole family.
Spring has sprung in New England, and that means the shades are going on, the masks are coming off, and people are moving outside. I'm here in Norwalk, Connecticut at the Rowayton Farmers Market for a little bit of fun in the sun.
Farmers Market is at 177 Rowayton Avenue. It's the home of the Rowayton Historical Society. It's called Pickney Park. I think it's just the most beautiful setting in all of Connecticut, for a farmer's market. It's a good group of vendors.
Vendors that have more to offer than just farmed goods. Despite the name Farmers Market, several of the vendors are actually small business owners with many unique items to sell.
I've been making jewelry for almost 20 years.
And I make driftwood whales. I collect driftwood all along the Connecticut shore, and I try to make whales. Sometimes they look more like fish, but most of the time they look like whales.
And we do homemade soaps and homemade candles. I'm a fashion designer and interior designer.
In addition to the unique vendors, there are the classics. Farmers selling their produce and flowers, and a few food trucks to keep the customers happy and fed throughout the day. Despite the differences in the items they sell, there are ideas that everyone involved can seem to agree on.
It's just a pleasant experience. I mean, you can go to the supermarket any day, but the farmer's market is more sociable. You're outside. You've got a variety of different things you can look at, from artisans, craft people, jewelers, food.
Shop local. It's really simple. Give me a choice between buying at a big box store that's national or buying and keeping it in my town or my state or, my region. It's a no-brainer. We want to keep dollars in the local economy.
Support your local, farmers and shop, artisans, and it's just a community. It feels like community. So it's really nice.
Shopping locally is good for the local economy, and I just feel like it's usually more sustainable and you can get things that are one of a kind.
It's just wonderful to make stuff and sell it.
I got to tell you, everyone should have as much fun as I do doing what they do.
If you find yourself in Connecticut on a Friday between now and Thanksgiving, make your way over to the Rowayton Farmers Market. If you're not in Connecticut, try and find a farmers market in your local area to help support local businesses.
For The Pulse, Matt Krecky, Norwalk, Connecticut.
And now, a look at one mother-daughter duo at the farmers market called Bubble and Brew. They travel around Fairfield County serving up coffee, baked goods, and bubble tea. Danielle Wood reports.
Food trucks have become a popular form of catering in recent years, especially at farmers markets, which are no longer just fruits and vegetables. Bubble and Brew has set itself apart from other food trucks by combining coffee, baked goods, and bubble tea into one menu. Wendy and Madison Fellows started the business 3 years ago.
We always kind of dabbled with the idea of opening a cafe together. And when I graduated college, my mom was ready to do a career shift. And we always loved cooking and baking and big fans of tea. So we kind of combined everything together and we decided to take it mobile instead of a brick and mortar.
To take the cafe on the road, they needed a vehicle, and Wendy feels they found the perfect one.
It's a retired fire truck from Normandy, France. And we got it. We were really lucky to find it as a fire truck. And then Madison and I took and redesigned the inside to a mobile cafe. And
since then, the mother-daughter duo have taken the truck to many farmers markets, but they have also done many other events.
So we do the Wilton Farmers Market, the Westport, and the Rowayton Farmers Market. And because of COVID, actually, we've done a lot of private events. So this year, a big trend has been doing schools. So we come and serve to the teachers who have been braving it out through the pandemic and really doing amazing work. So it's been honestly an honor to serve the teachers.
Yeah.
The opportunity to go to farmers markets gives Bubble and Brew a chance to connect with the community.
I think the farmers markets in general are really good because it's nice to be out in our own community. And we get to know a lot of the people. We have a lot of repeat customers that come back every week and want the same things or different things. And it's really nice to be part of the community with the farmers market.
The community and even other vendors have taken notice to the mobile cafe.
It's interesting, especially the fact that it's coming from a truck too. I usually go to other places where it's inside of the building, but it's outdoors, it's more spacious. People are here and enjoying their time with family and friends. The food is really good.
This morning I ordered an iced peach passion fruit drink from the bubble truck. It was actually pretty good. It was more refreshing.
At each place Bubble and Brew travel to, they change up the menu to cater to what they believe will sell more at that location.
What's funny about that is each place we go, there are certain adjustments that we make. So when we're at the Westport Farmers Market, macaroons are like a huge seller. I feel like everywhere we go, the lavender lemonade is good.
Since the events that Bubble and Brew attend are outside, they have been able to continue working during the pandemic.
Thankfully, we haven't had to make too many adjustments because we've always been curbside and outside. So we've definitely been some of the luckier ones.
For more information on Bubble and Brew, you can go to their Instagram or their website, which also has their schedule. For The Pulse, I'm Daniel Wood, Rowayton, Connecticut.
Well, that is definitely somewhere I want to go to.
Oh, me too. I'm already planning my next visit to the farmers market. Coming up after the break, we will look into a few things Sacred Heart has to offer that you may have overlooked, and a special sit-down interview with the person behind the Pulse Plus.
After all your hard work, the studying, practices, and rehearsals, you deserve the best for what's next. The best in Connecticut higher education. Outstanding nursing and health professions programs, premier learning facilities and world-class tech labs, a nationally ranked business school, modern residential, social, and recreational facilities, championship D1 athletics, and pro-level performing arts. Make your next step the best step. Apply now to Sacred Heart University.
For fans of craft beer, anyone with the desire to get involved in the industry, we have a great story that may inspire beer fans with a unique opportunity. And it's right here at Sacred Heart. Andrew Kane reports.
The craft beer business is an $83 billion industry which employs close to 500,000 people. However, only 5% is represented by people of color. Motivated by George Floyd's death last year and the protests that took place that summer, Jamal Robinson, director of sales at New England Brewing Company, decided to take action.
During last summer, during the height of all the protests, we kind of looked at ourselves as a company and asked, what we could do more to give back. We do a lot of community service, and it was kind of a personal charge of mine to kind of do a bit more for the Black community in general, and what that means is being a part of this beer industry.
From the newfound inspiration, Robinson was the driving force behind the creation of the NEBCO African American Brewer Scholarship. It will provide tuition for one aspiring brewer per year to attend the Brewing Science Certificate program at Sacred Heart University. The first recipient will be Kareem Kalan. He has been homebrewing now for 8 years and recently launched a brand with his business partner called Best Friends Lunch, with the concept of enjoying the people you hang out and drink beers with. Robinson views this opportunity for Kareem as more of a partnership than an internship.
This is an opportunity for him, especially to get the scholarship down, to get proper brewery experience and brewery training, but also creating some great relationships throughout the industry. Internship here, but we look at this as more of a partnership with him and his brand, and being able to help an already Black-owned brand.
The scholarship opportunity represents a bigger picture vision in Robinson's mind for the industry. He wants breweries to not only be more welcoming towards people of color, but to treat them with respect.
To be more welcoming to people of color need to see other people of color in that establishment, not just in the tap room, but behind the bar, and possibly brewing or on the sales or any other aspect. So that's one of the things too, even us as a company, and being purposeful and intentful to diversify our staff and our community.
Jamal is super excited about the scholarship and its inaugural recipient, Kareem. He credits Sacred Heart for making sure that it was written effectively with the intention of diversifying the craft beer industry. Jamal is hoping to see that 5% figure climb in no time. For The Pulse, I'm Andrew Kane, Fairfield, Connecticut.
What an awesome program that Sacred Heart offers. Best of luck to Kareem and Jamal on their future endeavors. If anyone would like to find out more about the Brewing Science program, visit Sacred Heart's website. The Sacred Heart Library may play a direct role in a student's education, but it could also be a safe place in the light of the COVID-19 pandemic. It includes many educational services, whether paper or digital, and offers students and educators a place of comfort. Renee Maljabi reports.
Libraries have been an essential aspect of academic life forever, but will they withstand the digital age remote learning that has become so prevalent during the COVID-19 pandemic? Some students don't believe so, but Sacred Heart University continues to empower its students to use the library to navigate through all of the information the world has to offer, even after the pandemic is over.
The physical space in the library, we set it up so that students had to reserve a seat before they came to the library. And once they got here, they had to check into the seat so that nobody else could reserve that seat. And we provide to students and faculty access to information so that they can do their research for articles, theses, master's dissertations, anything they can get from our online databases. And we do have a catalog that gives them access to all of these tools.
Whether the purpose is research or fun, the Show Library has a comprehensive selection of books, ebooks, and other materials for both students and faculty to use at their convenience.
The most important books in the library are the books that stand the test of time. If you come to the library, you're going to see books that are old, that are new, all different types of books. We have books in every different academic discipline, but we want to have the books that are classics in their field that get used in courses over and over again over the years, and we always want to make sure that we have those books.
The library also serves as a community hub where students can congregate to study, socialize, or just get classwork done in a quiet space.
We've had some book clubs in the past. We did have a room, an escape room set up, but we did that during the summer, so there weren't a lot of students available because we used the group study rooms, so we didn't want to interrupt students studying. A lot of our staff and some grad students took part in that.
The Show Library goes above and beyond to serve its community. Not only do they have a wide variety of books and materials in stock at their own location, but they will also reach out to their libraries. If students or faculty members need a resource that is not in stock.
Library provides a service called Interlibrary Loan. We abbreviate it ILL, but it's a service that's free to students. What we do is request books or journal articles or even CDs, videos, whatever, from other libraries if we do not own it. So if you need a book or even a copy of a book chapter from a book that we do not own, we'll put the request through. Actually, we don't. You put the request through. You have your own account. You put the request through, and if there's a library that has that item, they will send it to you. If it's a book chapter or an article, you'll get it digitally and it'll be deposited in your Interlibrary Loan account. If it's a book or other physical item, it'll be sent to our library and you can check it out from here and return it here.
Despite all of the changes in learning practices that have occurred in the year of the pandemic, the library is still the first resort for researchers, students, and faculty, giving them a resource that is not easily replaced. Reporting for The Pulse, Ranim Al-Jabri, Fairfield, Connecticut.
And now another Sacred Heart opportunity to check out The Pulse. In the past 5 years, over 70 episodes of The Pulse have been produced at the graduate and undergraduate level.
Today, our very own John J. Mudgett spoke with the man behind the magic. John?
Joining me today is a familiar face we all know and love. Please welcome, for the first time as a guest on The Pulse, the Director of Journalism and Media Production at SHU, Joseph Alicastro, or as we call him around here, Professor Alicastro.
Thank you, John.
Of course. So, 70 shows. That is quite the milestone, I would say. I do want to talk about the creation of the show, both in terms of, the physical creation of the set and also the creation of the idea for The Pulse. But before we do that, I do want to take a look at a little clip from the very first episode of The Pulse. So let's take a look at that.
A graduate student faces a life-changing injury but proves that nothing is impossible. We'll tell you how this cheerleader turned bodybuilder is making a name for herself. All of that and much more right now on The Pulse.
So first, let's talk about that set, those blocks and the colors and the white. How did that come to be? How was the set built?
Well, the first thing that you need to know about that set is that was the first year that we did The Pulse as a program, and we were doing it in our old studio. Our old studio used to be a chapel for the nuns at Sacred Heart University, so it was not ideal conditions. We also had to set up the set before each show. It wasn't always there permanently. It was a challenge, but the students really rose to it, got us off the ground, and that was our beginnings.
Mm-hmm. And how about the idea for the show? Where did the idea come from?
Well, the Pulse existed, but the Pulse existed as a class where students would go out and shoot stories, and then they would be loaded up on a YouTube site. When they asked me if I wanted to begin teaching that class and directing the show, I said I'd like to turn it into a program, and I'd like to model it after 60 Minutes, a real TV news magazine program. And that's what we did.
Do you have a favorite moment from the shows over the years? Anyone that comes to mind?
Oh, that would get me in big trouble with so many students if I had a favorite moment. But I'd have to say, the very first show that we did in this studio will always be memorable to me, because it was a dream to build a facility like this. And the students were so excited that the summer before, students were coming by and I would give them personal tours of it so that they knew what was coming up in the fall. And it's really been great. All of it has been great.
I mean, when you talk about it, I could see that you go right back to the day of walking in. So what was that day like, the first day you walked into that new studio?
It was kind of like, for me, somebody who was a lifer at NBC News for 30 years, it was like walking into a professional studio once again. And now all we had to do was get the students up to speed.
So, speaking of getting the students up to speed, what do you envision the future of The Pulse being? How do you envision it developing further?
I think The Pulse, as it is, as a format, is a good, strong format. 60 Minutes has been on the air for 50-odd years at this point. They're not doing anything wrong, and they haven't changed their format really from the very beginning. So what's really important is going out there with the cameras in the field, telling stories, becoming great storytellers, bringing that content back to the studio, and then packaging it in a professional way, which is what we do, what all of you do.
So just keep doing what you do well.
And keep getting better at it.
Right. So this last question is a fill in the blank. Finish this sentence for me. My legacy on The Pulse will be
that a lot of really talented students came through the program and went on to become professionals.
Okay. So that is the last question. But before we go, I have a little surprise for you.
Oh, no.
I feel like Oprah right now. There's no car keys. But I do have the framed photo that we took the other day and a card for you.
Thank you.
And this is just to say thank you for everything you've done for this program. Oh my God, I'm going to cry. This program and what you do every day as an educator, because it's important work. And none of us would have careers after this if it weren't for teachers like you.
Well, you all will have careers after this, as so many before you have.
I hope so. Well, that's a wrap for us. Professor Alicastro, thank you again for doing this. And thank you to all of you who watch this show and support the program week after week. All of us here really do appreciate it. Claire, back to you.
Coming up after the break, we'll look into how one couple renovated a van for their upcoming travels. This year's Memorial Day was like no other in recent memory. With parades throughout the state after a year of the pandemic, people are happy to be outside celebrating their friends and neighbors, while also remembering all who served their country. Brittany Moore reports.
This time of year is always a favorite with the arrival of Spring Memorial Day close behind. People have been waiting for a year to get outside and see their families and friends.
It's been raining for the past 2.5 days, so I think we were pretty nervous it was going to get rained off, but the rain kind of stopped 2 hours beforehand, and it's really good turnouts, very comparable to previous years, and yeah, all of the all the high points, the army, the Shriners who come in their little cars and have turned up for the parade. So yeah, really good.
Residents from all over Fairfield showed up to see the parade, and the streets were crowded with people on every corner, cheering when they saw their neighbors walking and driving by, with the parade starting at 10 a.m. and going until 2 p.m. There were lots of opportunities to be a part of the celebration. The familiar marching band, school children, and neighborhood dogs created a good time for all for the first time in a long time.
So last year the parade was cancelled, and I think of the 3 years before that, I think a couple of those were cancelled because of rain. So even though this is really an annual event, it's a really good chance now to get neighbours together and get people actually interacting, really for the first time since the beginning of the pandemic.
Reporting for the Pulse, Brittany Moore, Fairfield.
For nearly 15 months, we were locked into our homes, and now many people are itching to travel again safely. One young couple in Fairfield County is taking their adventures to another level. I have the story.
Aaron Nabni and Christian Ferrari had a vision to fulfill their wanderlust dreams after being cooped up in their Brooklyn apartment for months. They moved back to Connecticut, bought a used van, and began a renovation project with a plan to embark on a journey throughout the country on wheels.
We found the van on Craigslist. We got it from this guy named Warren. He owned a wheelchair transportation company.
After the start of the pandemic over a year ago, travel plans were halted across the globe. For this young couple, they are ready to hit the road and leave the 9-to-5 lifestyle at the age of 23.
We went through college where there's a lot of encouragement and emphasis on getting that job out of college, and we both did that. We got jobs that we were excited to start, ultimately weren't excited about what we were doing, and almost felt trapped, and we felt too young to be trapped in the grind of a job.
They will still be working at their jobs remotely while on the road, just without the cost of New York living.
A lot of New York housing is very small, and we figured if we're gonna have a small place to live, we might as well be able to take it with us.
The two are eager to see America with a new perspective and are ready to travel to new areas all over the country.
Since I moved to America, I've only really explored the Northeast, so I don't really know what's out there, and I think that my favorite place that I'm excited to see will find me.
Determined to get on the road as quickly as possible, they worked tirelessly on the van day after day so they could pursue their travel dreams. Persevering through many challenges during the renovation process, the hardest task was the beginning steps.
Surprisingly, taking everything out of the van was harder, I found, than building it back up. Despite us having no real previous experience building anything, tearing everything out was a pain in the neck and took forever. It was the most tedious part, the most gritty, dirty part, and also unexpected part. We took out the floor and found a rust hole.
The van was purchased in March of 2021 and has taken about 10 weeks to complete. Aaron and Christian quickly adapted to this distinctive challenge, working together efficiently and learning how to successfully overcome construction projects that they have never done before.
When we first got the van, we had to take all of the flooring out in order to make sure that the undercarriage of the van was clear of rust, and then we painted it. And then we put our own flooring in. We installed a lot of insulation. It's made of sheep's wool, and sealed that in with fabric and a wood ceiling. We added some ventilation with a fan, the air conditioning fixed. We had a handicap lift that was in these doors removed.
We've actually been able to split up work quite well. Christian was very handy with building. He built the bed in a day, just figured that out by himself and did it. There's been some collaborative stuff. We, with the help of Christian's dad, put the floor in. But independently, I've kind of taken control of the upholstery of everything.
As Christian and Aaron get ready to travel across the states and leave New England, they have no return date in sight.
There's no timeline, and I think that's the beauty of having a van to live in. Working remotely and being able to travel is you can do that as long as you're able to, and you should.
If you are looking to follow in their footsteps, the couple offers this one big piece of advice. There is not always going to be one track that is going to fit everybody.
You can go out and find what's right for you, and you don't have to have everything figured out, you know, your dream place to live and your dream job right away. You can take some time to go and explore and find it.
For The Pulse, Kristen Burnell, Brookfield, Connecticut.
Wow, it looks like they put a lot of hard work into that van. I'm already jealous of their upcoming travels cross country. Do they have a name for the van?
Trust me, so am I. And yes, they actually gave it the name Barbetta.
Wow, that's so interesting. Well, that's all we have for you this week.
We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time on The Pulse.